Welcome back to Tuesday's Loose Women. Now, newspapers have been speculating over the last few days on the state of Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne's 31-year marriage after it emerged that the two have been living separately. This morning, Ozzy has put an end to the speculation and released a statement on his Facebook page saying that for the last year and a half, he's been drinking and taking drugs. A former alcoholic and drug addict, Ozzy went on to say he's now 44 days sober and that he'd like to apologise to his wife, who he is not divorcing, as well as the rest of his family, his friends and his bandmates. So, is time out sometimes the only way to help out a loved one?
I think sometimes it is absolutely the only way to help, you know, with a loved one. Friends of mine, and on personal experience, I feel sorry for Ozzy. He has battled over the years, no matter what people say, and I think that, you know, Jack's been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. You know, his daughter's not been very well, and you know, some of these pressures people just can't cope with. I don't know any more than anybody else, so you know, and I'm glad that he's sober again. I know that two very good friends of mine who've talked openly about this, Kevin Kennedy and Claire. Kevin, who used to play Curly and Corrie, has been very open about this. And when he was really struggling with his alcoholism and he was in the Priory, Claire was, it was right about the time of my 40th birthday, it's quite a long time ago now. Claire was very upset because she'd been advised to move out because they said that you have to now show tough love, that the only way that Kevin is now going to stop is if he realises that he is going to lose you and his daughter. I think they had one at the time. She did, and it was horrible for her because she loved him so much. That's why she did it. And the rest is history. He's been clean for many, many, many years now and has been a great support to me. On a personal level, without boring the nation about my not drinking, it's just so relevant to so many topics. It's been a year now since I stopped, and over a year since Lincoln stopped, and we were both sort of bang on it and both not in very good places for very different reasons when we met, and we met through that sort of madness of our lives. And Lincoln stopped for me because it was causing arguments, so he stopped for me because he loved me. And I carried on drinking. Not a lot, because I was doing a play, but it was enough to cause a complete difference in the relationship if one person is still drinking heavily and the other one isn't. And when I thought I wasn't drinking heavily, I was compared to most people. And basically, we had a well-documented argument in which he videoed my behaviour, which I was very ashamed about. And that was the last night I drank. And basically, he sort of did, it wasn't really an ultimatum, but he did show me tough love, which is that, you know, this is not going to work because I'm sober now and I intend to stay sober. And if you don't join me, I can't see our relationship lasting. And I realised then how much I loved him and how important the relationship was to me. And I stopped drinking that night. It's not always as easy to that, but the fact that we'd both done it together, we were each other's anchor for stopping it. But I can honestly say that if he had not done that, I would have done the thing of like, oh God, I only had a few drinks, oh shut up, going on about it the next day. But it was, I realised that I was going to lose him if I didn't stop. And I would imagine, I don't know which way this has happened, that this is, I mean, we all know what Ozzy was like on the booze and the drugs. So presumably it's gone back to that again, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can absolutely see if Sharon is the one that's moved out, that she obviously needed space from it. Being with someone who is sober as well, my husband, he tried a few times to get sober and it never worked. And we were allowed to the places that he went to have contact. I was allowed to visit him and allowed to see him, and it never worked because he needed to focus on him and figure out why he was the way he was and what was motivating him to drink all the time. And then the final time he tried it, it's lasted, and he's been sober for 3 years now, and we had no contact. We spoke on the phone a couple of times a week maybe, but I never saw him.
How long was that for, Emma?
He was there for a month. So it was also a month before we got married. So he came out of rehab on Monday and we got married on Saturday.
Wow. Gosh.
But it was a last resort. He had to do something because you have to give tough love.
Did you need any reassurances?
No, because it wasn't my problem, it was his problem. And as much as it can have a knock-on effect and it can be a problem for the person involved with them as well, you have to think that this is something it's a horrific disease. It's really, really horrible. And they need to sort themselves out. And I think Sharon has stood by him for such a long time. She clearly loves him.
Oh, adores him, yeah.
So I have no doubt she'll stay there no matter what. But she probably needs to take a step back to leave him to deal with why he's gone off the rails again.
But also, by his own admission, he's thoroughly unpleasant.
And also for her to do that little bit of tough love and to step away from it, because if it is as bad as, you know, we've all heard it can be with them, then it's not going to be a pleasant place to be.
We saw it. You know, I used to watch the Osbournes and, you know, he used to make his children, his family, people he loved, like he said again, really, really unhappy. You know, he used to make their lives a misery because he would take it out on the people that he loved. And, you know, he's done it again. So it's not surprising that she needs to be away from him. But I think there's absolutely no danger of those two ever splitting up. You know, they've been through this a number of times, and you know, it's not, as you say, it's not always easy, and people can get clean, but they can also fall off the wagon, and it can happen again.
It must be so hard, you know, because once there is that addiction in your system, and you know that every day is going to be a challenge. Do I pick that bottle up? Do I pick that drink up? And it is, we've said it on the show before.
Because it's not something you can get rid of. You always have it, and you always have had it.
When Lincoln was trying to get clean before, he had a very good friend who had been to AA and was through it. And he used to say that his addiction was this almost a separate entity. He said, your addiction for the rest of your life will be in the hall doing press-ups and weights, just waiting for you to go out to play. It will always be there, and you've just got to try and battle that, because it is very, very tough.
But you have to think of the partner and what you're doing to the partner, and if you do love them, you have to think that sometimes it's the addiction versus the partner and the family.
Yeah, the family
because
as well,
it's devastation, isn't it? I knew someone who went through it, and she was a shadow of her former self, because she just couldn't cope. She had to leave it.
And it's the unpredictability that you're living with all the time. Horrible, yeah.
And the letdown, the disappointment all the time of having to pick yourself up.
Yeah, I know, and I do understand how difficult it can be. But I do think that it's also quite selfish, really, because he knows how he upsets his family. He knows if he does that, and I know it's difficult.
It is selfish, but you can't help it when you're an addict. Nothing makes sense, and there's no rhyme or reason.
I know, but you can not pick up that first drink.
Yeah, but it's
and I know how difficult it is. I listen to Russell Brand talking about it all the time. And a lot of people. I watched that Comic Relief night that he did, and it is really, really difficult. But it's like, you know, what is important to you? What you stopped because what was important to you was Lincoln.
But I wasn't necessarily... Yeah, it was. But, I mean, I had years when I should have stopped for other reasons, and I didn't. You need to find an anchor, and that was my anchor.
And you need to hit rock bottom. I know it's very much talked of and, you know, rock bottom, but you have to hit it before you can even...
Get back up.
I get that, but I don't. Sometimes I don't understand why you wouldn't think first what you might lose, especially when it's not the first time it's happened. No, I'm not, thank God.
Yeah. We send our thoughts to Ozzy and Sharon, and the very best of luck. Stay sober. Join us after.